Boeing Max.
Yeah.
9.
Yeah,
Keep the door.
Should we ground this podcast?
Yeah.
Can we even do that? How does that work?
Hey, Happy New Year, everybody. It is good to see you. I just thought I'd say that. I guess Ryan has some introduction, but somebody has.
Welcome to 2025.
Yeah, there's the introduction.
Welcome to 2025. 24 just went by. You didn't even notice.
Yeah.
If you slept in today, you missed a whole year. It's now 2025. Now we have X got switched back to Twitter. Everyone make a prediction. I say X got switched back to
2025 predictions in the start of 2024. This is good. What's going
Okay, what is your prediction, Ralph?
Oh wait, the boss is here.
This show will still be
Are we live?
Yeah. We're live right now, yes.
Oh, good.
We didn't officially start, but we're live.
Everybody behave yourself. The boss is here.
Oh.
I can't even say that seriously.
First of all, I love the poster in the background, John.
So I got a whole bunch of Polish movie posters for my birthday and for Christmas. This one is Fight Club.
Nice.
This one is Metropolis.
The Fight Club.
This one is Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Ooh.
Wow.
What else? Here we go. Got
Classic.
Mad Max.
Nice.
Oh.
And,
I love Mad Max.
the
I
final
know.
Final one is Blues Brothers.
Classic.
Ooh,
Nice.
that one
Total
might be
classic.
that one might be the like out of left field one that you don't expect.
No, that's the song you're like, everybody needs somebody.
Yeah. to love, someone to love.
Classic. I need you.
You better
All right,
think,
it's dark
think,
and we're wearing
think about what
sunglasses.
you're trying
Let's
to
hit
do
the
to me.
road.
Oh, come on, think. More freedom.
Oh my god. This is. Can we do silent karaoke?
Ryan, just roll the finger. You're not going to get a better intro.
I
than
love,
Get the
I love Blues. I think Blues Brothers 2000 is like one of the best musicals of all time. Blues Brothers 2000 is, without a doubt, the worst.
Yeah.
So bad. So
The movie itself was really bad. The music in it was awesome.
for 2000,
Yeah, for 2000. To be able to see the all-star bands at the end of the movie.
I
that
didn't
was-
make it that far. I left
Me
when
too.
Johnny Lang.
Windows 2000?
When Johnny Lang showed up and he started doing
It
his
was
thing,
over.
I was really stoned in the movie theater when I went to Blues Brothers 2000, and I had to go. I had to go. And if I'm high in it was bad. It was just bad, so bad. I'll go
We're talking
revisit
about
the
Mountain
music.
Dews, for anyone wondering.
Yeah, I'll go
Drinking
back
Mountain
and
Dew.
revisit the music, Mike. But I don't have good memories. I walked out of that. I can't remember what else, but I made it all the way through Spice World. I was oddly really engaged with the Spice Girls movie. I don't know why. Blues Brothers 2000.
I think we should get started then.
Yeah, roll the
I think
finger
so.
before John. Yeah, no.
All right. Hello and welcome to another edition of Black Hills Information Security Talking About News. My name is John Strand. In this particular edition, it's millions of breaches for me, because it's the karaoke version, the silent, sad karaoke version of Black Hills Information Security Talking About News. But we do all of this to bring joy and spread that in the InfoSec universe, because we've got to counterbalance the comment section in CrackMap Exec's GitHub repository. So joining me today, if I can get the menagerie of people, we have Ryan making us look good, smell good, and feel good. We have Mike on as very regularly. We got
Happy
BSD
New Year.
Bandit rocking the red team shirt. We got the Git expert here from Florida. Vacation brain, I know that feeling. Kelly Terwalla is with us. Joff, I don't know what to say about Joff. Alex is with us. Good
Or
God,
me either.
Alex, what happened to the character behind you? Is that like a Batman holiday caricature?
Oh yeah, no, he's getting geared up for going outside. So he's got,
He's
I think,
getting
just a
geared
little
up
bit
for
of like
going outside.
Oh yeah, we got like Snowmageddon coming, so he's got like the hat, the shoulder armor. Like you need shoulder armor out there.
He's ready.
He's ready to go.
He's ready. And Andrew is joining us as well. Folks, just so you know, I went through the show notes like literally 5 minutes before the show, as I often do, time-wise. Holy crap.
There's no news.
There's some breaches,
Nothing
right? And I'm going through the breaches, and I'm like, oh, yeah, there's normally breaches. But I want to start with one that I think is just amazing. It's from TechCrunch. Law firm that handles data breaches was hit by a data breach. Absolutely amazing. I mean, this is a fairly good-sized law firm. And basically, the hackers were able to steal personal information and sensitive health data of more than 637 data breach victims. Not data breach victims from this data breach, which they were, but from previous data breach.
Their data's already been breached, John, so it's fine. It's like
already
been breached. You know what I mean?
I'm just like somebody in comments here, they just say, Flackvest, as always, great comment. Spoiler alert, it's 2024 and we still have ransomware incidents. I think that maybe the hackers are hitting the bottom of the barrel. If they're going back and hitting the law firms representing the firms that got hacked to hit those firms a second time, I mean, is that double dipping? Is that hacking? And then you hack and you dip and then you dip again? That's a double dip.
John, literally, we've been on engagements where we got someone to do something, got into their account, and then redid it again because they fell for it a second time. So I mean, like, I think it's fair.
Yeah, that's happened where you send them an exe and you say, hey, you need to run this security tool on your system because we think it was compromised, and then that's the second payload. But yeah, so if you're wondering the security mindset of this company, they said that they stole reams of data, which kind of that says it all right there. I don't know how much
the files are in the computer. They're in the computer.
A ream is I feel like it's just like one of those banker boxes. A ream, isn't it technically I'm thinking Dunder Mifflin here? Isn't it like a box? It's like a 20-pound little bag of paper or whatever.
Yeah, there's got to be a technical description of what a ream is.
It's just funny. It's just funny to imagine how much data did they get? Reams.
Is it 250 pages a ream?
Yeah, I remember those. I remember those pages. They had the little. You could pull off the edge of them because they just fed into this gear.
Dot
they
matrix?
had the holes on, yeah,
we're talking about dot matrix printers.
Yeah, and you would get an entire ream because it would be one continuous sheet, and you would just have to. It was perforated. That was the word I was looking for.
So, what font size was my data printed on when it was stolen?
A5 paper.
Was it is it a QR code?
I believe a ream is a package of paper in today's society. So we often equate this with corporate theft, right? You walk home with a ream of paper from the copy center.
No,
500 sheets.
500 sheets.
500 sheets of my data. Oh man! But how did they get 600,000 people's data onto 500 sheets of paper?
That's a mystery.
Getting off of this topic, it's just for me, if I was the owner of this firm, and I hope to God something like this doesn't happen at Black Hills Information Security. It absolutely scares us. We do regular testing with a bunch of other sister pen testing firms, and we do testing for them. But this is the absolute worst case scenario. And right now, I don't think we have any details on how they got compromised. I hope for their sake that it was some kind of unknown 0-day used, but this article says it's not clear how the hackers initially broke into the network or whether they demanded a financial ransom from the law firm that they wouldn't answer any questions because why would they at this phase? But I hope for their sake that it was some kind of super 0-day. No one has ever seen it before. They've got to save some face. I mean, I feel bad for the owners of this company. I do.
Well, the problem is the data was just on a file share. So.
The question I've got is when they reported this, which lawyer did they report this to? I mean,
that's what I was going for too.
Oh, every law firm has a sub law firm that's within there. It's actually a thing where I've worked with law firms.
You guys joke about that crap, but it's true, right?
Oh, it's totally true. Yeah.
Anytime that we're working an incident, especially if it's like ransomware or if there's, just a standard incident with larger companies, most of the time we do not communicate with the customer directly. Anything and everything that we do in the investigation has to go through their law firm. And like these law firms, you ask them basic questions, like, how do you want us to send this data to you? It's like, oh, just email it to me, clear text. And you're like, oh God. Which lawyers are the lawyers going to call? I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know.
The data stolen is bad. It includes, which is funny, it includes account credentials for other breach sites, and it also includes potentially PHI, including date and cost of services and healthcare insurance numbers and provider details. So I guess be on the lookout. This kind of dovetails to the next story, which is that people will get blackmail or other emails based on the data that was released, as we saw with the Fred Hutch thing. Did everyone see that one?
I've got that one coming up. Do we want to just transition over to Fred Hutch?
Yeah. It's like
Might as well.
You take the email data, or you take the data that was stolen and you make it into phishing emails. That's like that's the way of life.
That's the way it goes.
Threat actors.
I love this. They said to me, it felt like a really good sales tactic. Here's all of your information. Do you want to pay to get it offline?
That was
and it's funny because I think that there's a lot of people that look at PHI and they're like, well, I don't care if anybody gets a hold of my PHI. And I hate that. I just been thinking a lot about this over Christmas. It's one of those horrible, self-centered, I got mine, F you type attitudes, right? Like, I've got nothing. I've got no sexually transmitted diseases or anything like that. I got nothing in my history. So therefore, you just don't care, right? But with something like this, whenever you read through it and like the medical history of some of these people, I just think so. Like my family, my friends, people that I've known over the years. Seriously, there's a lot of stuff that you do not want to be in like the public realm as far as medical history. And I mean, this is, it just can't be minimized, right?
So
like if somebody were to come up with my medical history and like post it online, I don't know how much I care, but I know without question that there's a lot of people, like if my history was their history, they'd be really uncomfortable. I talk about painful, uncomfortable things that have happened to me medically over the years, and we won't get into that on the show. But who wants that shit on a website for everyone?
Right.
Well, John, good news. If you check your email, you can pay only $50 to have it taken off the dark web.
Totally can believe them for that, right?
And I will say, honestly, from the threat actor's perspective, I know it's just a money grab, but it looks just so optimistic that they imagine that someone would be willing to pay $50 to have their private information kept protected. Like, who cares? Most people are going to be like, eh.
Oh, my God.
$50 in a honey glazed donut. Okay,
dude, this reminds me of you guys seen the bail spot, like the bail websites when people get arrested and they have to have their public photo taken, right, when they're booked. And then all these websites have come out to put their picture on there that are all ran third party, and then they charge you to remove it from their website.
And it's public records, so you can continue to
it's
get
public,
it back.
but and then somebody will like look up their name, and the first thing they'll see is that they were in jail.
It's like SEO. It's like SEO blackmail or extortion.
Yes,
it's like exactly.
Yeah. So I looked at that initial quote too, where they said, hey, it's a good sales tactic, and while we may want to laugh at that, I think that it's the author put that in the article, I think intentionally. Because you can pick and choose what quotes you do, but the interesting thing is that it's giving credibility to these ransomware actors, and I think that's something that overall we need to keep an eye on. Like they do have sales tactics, they do know what they're doing.
They do, and their price. And Alex, their price of $50, they chose a price point that was low enough that a huge percentage of people would choose, right?
Yeah.
That's absolutely something like $50.
And there was the other quote in there too that it says that, there's no honor among thieves. But I looked at another article that's on our list that's linked, and it talks about how these ransomware affiliates have rules of engagement. They have basically like these rules of honor that say you can go after a hospital, don't encrypt it. You can steal the information, and you can do that secondary extortion. You can do that blackmail. Do not encrypt them. Do not interfere with healthcare operations. So saying there's no honor among thieves, they might not be honoring what we consider honor, but they have their own set of honor.
Code of ethics.
They're following that.
Well,
and I think it's important to not underestimate ransomware groups and their sophistication.
And there's a whole nother point. Flackvest has a great quote. Thinking about potential issues like employers denying jobs because of leaked health info, housing providers denying rent, not legal, but would be impossible to prove if you just found it in a web search. This is real, right? Like if somebody's trying to get a job with a firm and then you can see that they have some type of long-term debilitating disease that you know is going to impact their work performance or possibly could impact their work performance. Like there's definitely unscrupulous like businesses that would basically look at that and be like, oh, I don't know. It looks like this person was sick for like 8 to 9 weeks at this one job 2 years ago. If that happens here, that's really, really bad. That would suck. Like, you know, just kind of going to it. What was the other one? Oh, housing providers. Denying rent and things of that nature.
It gets sticky really fast.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yep. And like I said, I absolutely hate that attitude in the industry. I know a lot of us had holidays with friends and family, and inevitably, if you're around a large enough group of people, they're like, "Well, if you ain't a criminal, you got nothing to hide," and it's just like.
It's like Uncle Bob, your hemorrhoid treatment on 8/12/2023 actually disagrees with that. Are you sure you want to talk to the family?
How do you feel about that?
These ransomware sales tactics are nothing more than the new infomercials that come on late at night and sell everything for $19.95. Yeah. And you keep constantly playing that. Somebody is they pick a price point. Always $19.95. They've been doing it for how many decades? And how many people have bought that stuff off of?
PSD, I got to take you. I'm gonna fix the $19.95 with only 3 easy installments of $19.95.
Oh, so true. So true. Gotta add that on
Don't
to
worry.
that. Yep.
Don't worry. It's like years ago whenever I worked for Teleperformance USA before I was married. It's okay. We don't need your credit card. We already have it on file.
So yeah, I mean, I gotta say, it should be 3 easy payments of 0.0000195 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming.
It's here.
Scan the QR code to have us steal your bank account. Thank you.
But like all of this is starting to get into this law of unintended consequences. Like I think, you know, for generations in computer security, you know, we always worried about, oh, what about 0 days? Because I remember that being a thing way back in the beginning. It's like, what happens when a worm comes out? There's no patch for it. It's like, okay, that happened. But then you get into PHI, PII. There's a lot of conversations that have been had over the years where what are the actual impacts going to be for these types of breaches? And I think this is just the beginning of it. This is absolutely...
Well, John, this doesn't affect me because I use Bitwarden and I use Windows Hello to unlock it. Nothing can possibly be insecure.
Did you read this article?
Can I
really
cap
cool.
this article? Because this is close to my heart. You guys can make your own...
You know that Corey, he's playing at an elite level.
Yeah,
man.
Hat off to Red Team. Out of Germany, I think is where they're out of.
So I have a couple takeaways for this article, and there is one actual there is a good vulnerability that they discovered with this. So, but if you read the article, but the big thing is that Bitwarden, like other password managers, can use the credential store inside of Microsoft's Hello, or other credential stores, in this point the DP API, to store sensitive information. It was like specifically by design. We've taken advantage of this in the past with other password managers outside of Bitwarden, with the idea, in essence, that any sensitive information is stored at the DP API can be compromised if you're a privileged enough user. Okay, if you're a local administrator, you can read the contents of this. On top of that, you can also just extract the credential or the vault key, right? For example, from memory, if you're on that host and you are an administrator. So having high levels of administrator access on any host will compromise a password manager, right? But the thing that they did find that I thought was really interesting is that there was a issue with the way that Bitwarden was saving the key to unlock the vault. what the end result was is that any application, any user, not an administrator, could actually ask, right, Windows for the key, and it would just give it to them, right? Whether after you had enrolled Bitwarden with the what do you call it? The hello.
It's a feature, Ralph.
It's a feature. It's a feature. Definitely a feature. It is wild, but
it has been fixed, but it's
Hey, Kelly, can you tell us a little bit about that link that you just shared, the tech privacy training? You said it's good reference on privacy harms. I wanted to drop that in real quick because I think that's a good point to close out the last one.
Sure. There's a professor, his name is Daniel Solove, and he's been working on this model or taxonomy of privacy harms. And that model includes some of the things we've already talked about in the discussion: physical harms, discrimination harms, reputational harms, psychological harms, and what he calls autonomy harms: coercion, manipulation, lack of control, failure to inform. And the reason why he has created this taxonomy of privacy harms is because he is a strong advocate of how do we actually bring this into the courtroom? Because if we can't actually articulate what privacy harms are, how are we able to say that, well, we were actually harmed as individuals? So yeah, he's actually got a great book called Privacy Harms. It's on my reading list for 2024 and 2025, Ryan.
And Brian, time traveling nerd herder, asked, does Kelly have her own cameraman? Yes, she does. And he's following her around. So we got the floating camera going. So kind of speaking of harms, I want to talk about the 23andMe breach.
We went into depth on this on the last episode.
Oh, so we're done with this one?
I don't think, we can talk about it. This is like kind of a follow-up. I mean, basically where we left it was essentially that, like, so for anyone that isn't familiar with this, 23andMe is like a DNA testing company, and they were breached essentially through account takeovers or ATOs or whatever you want to call them. And they basically, attackers went after 23andMe accounts individually through basically, password guessing, password reuse, information stealer malware, all the good stuff that we know about. And what we discussed on the show was essentially like the role of the company 23andMe in protecting their victims' accounts, because it's a tough thing of, like, on one side, you have to let the user set whatever password they want, and that's like the user has control over their own security on some level. But on the other hand, you also have to protect people. That's part of security, is protecting people who can't necessarily choose the right password or know. Obviously, you shouldn't reuse passwords, but not everyone knows that. Some people use the same password everywhere. So I guess it's like kind of walking the line. But basically now they're just publicly victim blaming and saying, hey, it's all your fault, which is...
But there's another part of this, though, okay? So the other part of this is at the end of this article, at the very bottom, it says that 23andMe reset everyone's passwords and is now forcing two-factor authentication for everybody. And this is
so they're like, it's your fault, but also...
it's your fault. Also, we've improved the security, so this can't happen again. Yeah. So here's the problem I have with this is, this is contentious, and I want to get the non-BHIS people's opinion on this. It's now a high finding. If you have an external interface that is just single factor authentication, all you need is user ID and a password to get in, that is a high on BHIS's externals now. And I kind of want to explain it a little bit, and I'd like to get some input from non-BHIS people. I did this as kind of a fiat across the company because I am sick and tired of, like, coming on the news, and it seems like every third breach is like a credential stuffing attack or a password spraying attack. It's because an organization doesn't have two-factor authentication, right? Number one. Number two, when we're working incidents in IR, a tremendous number of the incidents that we work, maybe even 25% of them, are because of the exact same thing, lack of two-factor authentication. And Ben from KC said it wasn't already. See, but here's the problem. It's not a, like, defined vulnerability and like a Nessus scan or anything like that. So I think it was like informational for a long time, but I got so sick of it. It was just basically, F it, it's a high. And I now get to argue with customers, I think once every 2 weeks on average, where I have to explain to them the same thing. Am I off base? Like with this? Like I seriously think every pen testing firm should be doing this, but I'd like to kind of get some other thoughts on this, like Alex and Andrew, BSD and Mike. What do you all think about this? And also in comments, please in comments, please let us know as well.
I'll take a point on this. I don't think that you're wrong at all on it. Quite honestly, half the time, half the stuff at least that I've seen corporations that I work for get funded for or make the changes are because of those pen tests and what they mean for regulations and the company itself. And that's where a lot of times you can make some of the biggest impact. We, for instance, would know, okay, this is not running multi-factor, and we can yell and scream until we're blue in the face. The second that finding is documented by an external party, though, all of a sudden it's got a little bit more bite. It's got a little bit more oomph to it. And with our pen test, not just as far as multi-factor goes, with all of it, we try and go ahead and figure out with them where we need to go ahead and raise that level. What might normally be an informational, but in our environment should be something as a high. So I don't think you're in the wrong on doing that at all.
Oh, it's created some painful conversations. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just piggyback what you just said. Yeah, I think it's important that you're raising the stake and saying that it's a high and putting it out to the front. Like, listen, we're doing our job here. Because again, if you just say, oh, it's informational, that just shows, and I'm just saying this is on the pen testing team, we have to get to the point where we're just saying, hey, listen, this is a high, this is what we do. We find issues, vulnerabilities, we report them to you because we want you to help improve your security. And we cannot do that if we're constantly just going along to get along with the customer. And I think sometimes other pen test firms do that, where it's just like, oh, we'll just leave it as informational. We've known this client for years. We'll just leave it at that because they've been a good client. No, I think you're absolutely right in calling it out, holding people's feet to the fire, and letting them know, like, and constantly documenting, like, hey, listen, this is a potentially bad thing. This is a high. This is why we're raising it to be a high, because this is what could happen. It could be a breach bonanza, no pun intended, on your organization if you don't do anything about it. And it's good that you're constantly calling it out. I think that's important. And I
want to call out,
all firms should do that.
Cool. I want to call out a good comment from one of the people, 12 Riza. I get that 2-factor is a go-to answer, but forcing it makes things so difficult for a user base. Working with 15,000 employees is mental, and I get that. I do get that as a thing.
I have kind of a middle ground, and I don't want to, like, if anyone else has other thoughts, definitely jump in. But at BHIS, I run sort of the data breach stuff, and we are dealing a lot with information stealer malware these days. And if I go in our tool and I search for 23andMe, there's like 30,000 records. So like the account breach of 15,000 accounts is about what I would expect as a scale. Essentially, like what you can do, and this is something maybe everyone doesn't know, you can target accounts that have been compromised, or you can do your own security auditing. Like they call it like ATO prevention if you want to Google something. But basically what you can do is you can pull a data feed. You can use a third party or whoever, pull a data feed of accounts that are being disclosed in information stealer malware logs, and then reset and potentially force MFA for those accounts specifically. Yes, password reuse is a thing, but I personally believe that most of these credentials are coming from information stealers, just personally. And so being able, and this is what we provide our customers. We say, here's a list of 15,000 accounts that are publicly disclosed with their credentials. You need to go reset these, and specifically for these accounts require MFA. This is like a much smaller ask than saying, go make MFA for everyone mandatory. It's one thing to do that versus saying, okay, out of the 100,000 accounts we have in our database, these are the ones that are the highest risk. Let's go force password resets and also force MFA. And obviously this is secondary to detection, which is like, surely from wherever, now she's logging in from a different country, that kind of stuff. We use it traditionally in the setting of like Active Directory, but you can absolutely use it. The classic example I always give customers is look at Gmail. they do a lot of like session protection type of things on, oh, this is a new device, I don't recognize it, or this is a different IP or a different travel, distance traveled or whatever. So like, I'm not saying every portal has to have this advanced security, but essentially identifying a limited subset of your higher risk accounts, 23andMe or whoever could have done that in advance. And for a company that's providing sensitive data, that I would say should be a key part of your security team, is like, go out, pull a data feed of compromised accounts, reset the credentials, and force MFA for those high risk accounts.
Yeah.
So pretty much using that as a starting point, right?
Andrew hasn't responded yet. I want to get Andrew in on this.
Yeah, there's a lot to chew on here, right? With the MFA debate, right? Because I feel like a lot of these data breaches are actually, we had to pivot to the inside to a service that had little to no security controls on that service. And so we can preach on the outside, yeah, MFA all the things, but if it's not 100% all the time, and you have this one service that's really critical to the business, and that is the foothold that someone uses to come in from the outside, we've all failed. So we can say authentication context, which is how I tend to think of this, right? MFA is just an attribute of session context for somebody coming in from the outside. Curious what other people think from that about relying parties and like the way that we pivot in 2024. I guess I gotta get in the habit of saying that 2024.
No, it's 2025. It's 2020.
Yeah,
what?
well, yeah,
That's right.
We're just skipping years. There we go.
I mean, I think you're spot on. Like, you're right. Like, if we look at like industry leaders, what they're doing for this problem, they're not just addressing it as, oh, bad password, we fixed that. Your way of framing it as a session, security factor is a piece of the puzzle, but you can have a 5-character password and the account's super well protected because you only allow logins from one IP or whatever. Like, there are compensating controls and there's things you can look at to detect. I would say nowadays, like having some kind of session security features is becoming more and more of a hard requirement of like, yeah, and we should pivot because someone just mentioned it.
No, yeah, I was gonna say
we got to pivot. You know what?
I've got one last thing I want to say on it for everybody is one of the conversation points on how this ends up. And I want to give you kind of the back and forth. Customers say, you're rating this as a high. We say, yes, this should be a high. And if it's a company that provides a service, they'll say, well, you didn't exploit anything. Many times as a testing firm, we do not have permission to go after customer accounts. That's not something we are allowed to do in our testing. And I have this fear, and I'm kind of genning up a webcast. There's tons of things that we do not test because it's either illegal or it involves going after personal devices, which also could be illegal, or it's just things that customers, like if we were to break into thousands of customer accounts for a bank, that bank has a major problem at that point. So this is one of those areas that's very, very difficult. It's not just a simple solution, but I also don't feel like it's being tested appropriately. All right, what's our pivot? What do we want to do?
I mean, hold on. I mean, to dovetail, like you are super right. I think we should be asking our customers, hey, can we test customer accounts? At least a spot check. Just do a spot check. And we're not going to log into 15,000 23andMe accounts, but we should at least do a spot check and say, does your primary customer interface require MFA? Anyway, speaking of the pivot is that Mandiant's X account was compromised and switched to a very promising crypto startup. From what I hear.
And they had supposedly MFA. So what happened?
That's impossible.
Oh,
you can't hack MFA.
Can we get this article up? I don't see where this one is.
It's probably it's the answer is always Steelers. I just always I just keep pressing that button like that's all I ever say. Some like contractor PR firm. Seriously, I've seen this in malware Steelers. It's like you have a PR firm that gets compromised and they'll have the logins for like 80 people's Twitters. Like this actually happens. And by logins I mean session tokens. So but yeah.
Did they actually get it renamed? Back again?
It got renamed and like rebranded to a cryptocurrency.
It was like 6 hours it took them to go ahead and get it back.
6 hours.
They had to wait on hold with Elon Musk for a while.
You have to call them directly.
I guess there were
now and get a
limits
password reset.
on how many times you can change your username. So they basically like changed it. We're trying to change it back, and they had like that hard block being like, no, you can only change it so many times in 24 hours. So,
So what's the issue here? Are we blaming Mandiant or are we blaming X?
Mandiant.
We don't.
Well, no, we're blaming everyone. We blame everyone on the show. What? No, I'm just kidding.
Equal.
No, I mean,
equal
I would
opportunity
say,
abuse.
Okay, the non-joke answer is that I don't think we have enough information to really determine. Like, I will say, if it was X, I think it'd be widespread, not just like, oh, we hacked all of X, but we only went after Mandiant. No, they would go after Elon Musk, and they would tweet a meme of him like bonking a Doge coin or something.
I love this. 12 Riza said, Mandiant job posting, social media manager, job requirements, basic early 2000 cybersecurity practice.
I think, I my guess personally, shooting from the hip here, is that Mandiant, these companies, if you think about like a company managing a single account, it's actually a really complex thing and there's not a lot of tools for it. Like, how many people have access to the Twitter login? Is it the PR firm? Is it only the social media manager? How many different interns or directors or whoever have access to it? And are all of them secure? Do they share how do they share the credentials? Maybe they had them in Bitwarden. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's there. I think if it was X, you'd have a widespread compromise of more than just one account.
I think the consensus is they're going to blame an intern at some point.
They're going to,
Yes.
They're currently.
I have a feeling that's coming. That's going to come
The job
up.
posting should be looking for fall guy, salary, 1 golden parachute, executive level leadership required, or whatever.
yeah,
But I asked the question.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, guys. I asked the question because we all know that Twitter's security team was decimated. So perhaps was somebody reviewing the logs? Was there an incident internally? I think their culpability is to be shared in this situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't know this, or I forgot about it. But did you guys know that Google owns Mandiant?
Yeah,
I think that's
we talked about it on the show, bro. So
I know. I literally forgot. It's been a whole year. It's been a whole year.
It's 2025. Get with the program, dude.
What year did you skip?
It's been a couple years since Google.
Yeah, it's been like 3. I don't know.
Google.
You know what I think it is? This isn't Ralph. This is evil Ralph because we're looking at Ralph from
Mirror
a
Universe
different
Ralph.
angle.
You know what?
This is GPT Ralph.
This is GPT Ralph.
AI enhanced, ML marketed GPT Ralph.
So Ralph, you're on the beach. There's a turtle. It's on its back. It's screaming.
You let it drown. You let it drown.
Yeah, I guess in the Mandiant breach that the adversary said check your bookmarks, and I am really curious as to what bookmarks the adversary left behind in their Twitter profile.
Wouldn't that be fun to know?
That would be very
Probably
fun to know.
just some really fire memes.
Yeah, really great memes. So, speaking of great memes, the Merck $1.4 billion cyberhack settlement is now over. This is what was it? Not Petya, I think, was the malware that hit. Now, the reason why we were waiting for this one to come up because we wanted a ruling. Because the insurance company had a clause that was like hostile warlike action, hot nation state on nation state action. And because Petya was was developed by the Russians using an exploit that the NSA developed, then the insurance company was like, yeah, we're not going to pay out for whenever nation states are hacking each other. And what an incredibly important thing that we all wished we could have found out, and it would have been awesome to have some legal case study precedent moving forward. They settled. So this precedent, as far as like in insurance statements, that kind of the equivalent of force majeure or nation state on nation acts of war between countries, does malware that's created by nation states and released publicly, does that count as like collateral damage? We still don't have a ruling on that as far as the Merck case, which is going to be by far the largest one. The other one was Mondelez out of Ukraine, which I don't know if we actually got that one solidified. But I am really frustrated because this is one of those things that I was hoping to see the courts rule on it. Because part of me, I understand where if you're an insurance company, you're like, look, It's a 0-day released by the NSA. Like, how are we supposed to put that into our threat models that the NSA has hacked, and all of a sudden by shadow brokers, all of a sudden the Russians pick it up and weaponize it? How are we supposed to put that into our freaking like threat models from an actuary perspective? I understand that, but then on the flip side, I think you could possibly trace back lots of bots, and you could say, well, this was developed by China, this was developed by Russia, this was developed by Israel. It kind of opens that box of worms up, and it makes it very, very difficult to try to differentiate what is an act of war and how to, like White Cyberduck said, categorizing a hack as an act of war. Like, how do you start defining that? It almost gives insurance companies a master key that gets them out of absolutely any situation moving forward. Well, I don't know if anybody else read this one or had a thought on it as well.
Actually, I've got a small thought on that one.
All right.
That is that if the insurance companies continue down that path and it expands that almost everything is considered an act of war, or so much of it is, it makes the insurance policies completely useless. Companies are going to go ahead and wise up to that at some point, which means that the insurance companies are going to lose money on people not getting the insurance policies also.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side on that, Mike, Ranner has a great comment. Said, I think the days of cyber insurance are numbered. Too much risk, cannot put a price on it. And Kelly, I'm going to throw this one to you, because you do a lot with like risk and talking with companies and risk mitigation and GRC and all that goodness. Do you think that we're kind of heading that route? Like cyber insurance companies are just going to be like, nope, I'm out, and walking away from this?
No, there's too much money in it for them. Remember, the insurance companies are there to make money. And I sound so jaded. I'm sorry, people. I was trying to be happy, Kelly, in 2020.
Welcome to the show.
Today. The show, you started so good. Just break us back down into alcoholism, Kelly. Take us there. So.
Well, in all seriousness, though, John, the thing that struck my eye in this article was in the second paragraph. It says the ruling found that the insurers were liable under all risks insurance property. It wasn't a cybersecurity insurance policy. So with anything to do with GRC, legal, or privacy, read the fine print.
Yeah.
So, okay, two things I want to say. Number one, on the dollar amount, the 1.4 billion was the sought settlement.
I think they only got 700. Is that right?
So the numbers are not public. This is a settlement, so they're probably doing. I mean, I'm assuming the lawyers will all be able to buy yachts, but that's all we know. Basically, like the number isn't public, so we don't know how much they settled for. It could have been like $3.50. I'm guessing that wasn't it though. Second of all, I wonder, are we getting to the concept of like too big to breach? Like, it's just like these companies are so big that like nothing bad can happen to them, because like no matter what happens, they're just going to be like, well, we lost $1.4 billion, so good luck with that. Like, who's going to insure that? Who's going to be like, we can cover that? No problem.
I have a thought experiment for that, Corey. What about, like, do you think that Apple is too big to breach? Like, as a company, right? Like, do you think that they're too big?
I mean,
I'm going to go with yes. It depends on the breach, right? If the App Store is breached and let's say everyone's app purchases and like account information is all breached, I think you are almost like what we're talking about is companies that are so big that if there's a cyber breach, the government has to step in.
Yeah.
And I would, we joke about this, but damn well, you're worse than Kelly. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Yeah. I thought about it, and I thought, here's the two things I thought about when I talk about Apple. How pervasive they are in America and the world, and how big of a company they are. Like, they've got way more computers and things, right, that run lots of stuff that we
I mean, seriously, like, okay, let's just make the cyber insurance policy. Let's run through the questionnaire online. I'd like to purchase a cyber insurance policy. Okay, how much in losses are you seeking if you are breached? $1 trillion.
Well, let's look at
who's insuring that?
All joking aside, let's look at Merck. If Merck gets breached, kind of like Mondelez, and it shuts down all shipping that Merck is responsible for.
Yeah. No, they're a pharmaceutical.
That impact it's not just like what Merck could stand to lose from profits. Like the downstream economic impacts are ridiculous at that point.
Well, I think the stream's just crossed there. Are we talking about Merck, the pharmaceutical company?
It's pharmaceutical, yes.
Yeah.
Or
John was thinking Merck.
I got my
thinking about the shipping.
Let's stick with.
But it doesn't matter. John's point stands either way.
Stick with my point. It's still valid as a shipping company.
The point stands either way. Yeah. If all the secret drug recipes are breached and now I can just like infringe on anyone's patents in China, then like this is I don't know. I mean, it's like seriously, it is basically an impossible number to calculate. Like, let's say I'm a pharmaceutical giant. I have patents for like what is the future value of like the coronavirus vaccine? Like, who is like what insurance actuary is sitting down and being like, oh yeah, well they stole the recipe for the Coke recipe or whatever, so Coca-Cola doesn't exist anymore. Like, how do you even like? I
don't know how do you
works. Like I don't know.
Ben from KC said that John confused his breaches. I like it.
How could you do that, John? There's only like 20 of them today. So should we talk about anything but breaches today? Like seriously, it's been 45 minutes. That's all we talked.
No, that's breached.
No, that's another breach. Oh, Xerox too. That's a breach.
Okay, there's an article with furries in it. Should we talk about that?
Something?
Nope. Nuclear lab.
Hold on. Can we talk about something fun? All right. Volkswagen is adding ChatGPT to its infotainment system because that's a great idea.
That's such a good idea. And it's all there. It's an EV. It's an EV, and if you enable ChatGPT, it will decrease your battery life by 25% because it's so power inefficient. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, here's my question. If you like ask it to tell you some information, right? Well, if it lies to you, I mean, like, could you end up, going the wrong place? Like, is it hooked into the GPS too? Like, what, I'm
assuming it's purely for entertainment purposes. So you can be like, ChatGPT, write me a Christmas song, but sung in Swedish. Write me a sea shanty while I'm driving because I'm really bored.
Yes. We needed this. This is what we
I personally, like, I went on a road trip recently, and I was the ChatGPT for the rest of the car, and it was extremely fun. We had it sing us write stories about different truck stops that we were it was very great. So I'd say it's a 10 out of 10 feature.
10 out of 10.
I was going to say if it's tied into the GPS, etc., and a lot of the ChatGPT stuff that I've seen is the data is at least a year old. How is it going to know what the latest routes?
No, ChatGPT 4 can query the web.
Yes, it definitely can. There's there's actually plugins now that you can add in to different like sections in your ChatGPT.
You can share your data in any way you can. You can upload a retinal scan. You can
upload your entire medical history. Yay!
Yeah. So guys, I'm a little slow here. Are we saying this is a good idea or a bad idea?
This is amazing. This is going to save our lives.
There's no way this will end poorly.
This is okay. We know this car company. All they're trying to do. There's some director or VP at Volkswagen that wants to get his big bonus and get out, and that's what this is. That's all it is. It's it's just like we have ChatGPT too. We have it.
So it's the golden AI enabled parachute.
Yes, exactly.
ChatGPT, what is my?
That conversation happened where they're like, what we need? We need ChatGPT in our cars, and all the engineers are like, but why?
And
that board wants this.
That has been my overall worry for 2024. If I made a prediction, is just somebody's going to lean into AI in a direction to where it fails and fails catastrophically. Like, I'm not talking like a couple of accidents there, a couple of cars, but you can have something that is notable that we're talking about it in 2027.
Yeah,
2027, I mean, 2028, we're going to talk about, hey, you remember when that company leveraged AI and they did it completely wrong and it was horrible? That's my fear.
That actually gives me an idea.
I would like to buy this index.
Hey, Alex, that gives me an idea. Hey, Corey, can we take our data from Goldmine and put that through ChatGPT?
Oh, we want to do it. Yes.
So actually, fun fact, I've actually looked into doing this. There is a tool called Passcan that can generate. It's like essentially you can make like an AI password guessing tool that just says like, we've analyzed all the passwords for this organization and here's what people are likely to choose. So that's terrifying.
Right.
There's no way.
Yes, you can load, and if you approve it, I'll start uploading NTDSs into ChatGPT today.
I was being completely facetious. Do not do that. Do not do that. Do not connect Goldmine with ChatGPT.
You heard it here. The day that BHIS died.
No, listen. I will say we could do like a webcast about potential pen testing applications of LLMs because there are many, but I don't think using specifically ChatGPT. I think also like I'm really curious about whether the branding will stay because to me this sounds like putting an iPod or like it's like Zune. This is like, is this going to be like, dude, my car has a Zune connector in it or something? Like, is it? Is this what we're going to be when it's like ChatGPT? You know, ChatGPT's gone in like 2 years, and so every time you push the ChatGPT button, it just says API error. Like,
I love Ben from KC posted in. If we do that, every answer from ChatGPT is going to be winter or spring 2024.
Yeah.
Where the hell is this answer coming from?
Or it'll be really weird. It'll be real. Like there's some, you know, there's some passwords where you just look at it and like, you can't help but just focusing on certain ones. It'll be like, I'm a stinky boy or something. You're just like, what?
Hey,
Why?
can we rewind the tape here, Corey? Did you say Zune? That's a.
I like how you use an outdated. I like how you use an outdated metaphor to talk about my outdated metaphor.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
my gosh. Yes, rewind the tape. Wow. You know what I thought was great about that, Corey, since you brought it back up, is that was also a Microsoft product, and ChatGPT is.
I'm just
Microsoft
saying,
has
like,
a lot in ChatGPT. So,
yeah, we don't live in the era where you want to like have specific named products integrated into your other products. Like things
and the other
change
thing,
and they go away.
And the other thing that's true is that Corey is a 50-year-old brain in a 25-year-old body. Just
Whoa, rewind the tapes.
Oh, my God.
Whoa, hold on.
Fast forward. It's already 2025. I'm aging at twice the rate of everyone else. Okay.
Yes, you are.
Welcome to middle management, buddy. So Wade put up the nuclear lab hack. I don't know. Are there any other news stories that we want to talk about, like the nuclear lab hack, gay furry hackers?
No, we love this. This is an amazing
So
story.
we're going to go from massive quantities of breaches to a nuclear lab.
Yeah, well,
I'm really depressed for this year now.
I have gone on the record on the show and I have said don't mess with furries, and I stand by that. Like this is proof of that. Like this is why you don't mess with
I agree.
furries.
But this one, I almost wonder, like somebody, my future son-in-law, he got me hooked on this like 1 bite pizza review thing where it's like 1 bite. You all know the rules. And
you mean Dave Portnoy or whatever? Yeah.
And I'm almost like thinking we need to rate the breaches for like class and style.
I'd say this is an 8.2 at least.
I'd say this is a good solid 8.2. Like, it's got pizzazz, right? You're going after nuclear. You're asking for something ridiculous. You're gay furry hackers.
Yes.
I mean, that's just
it's amazing.
My hat's off and well done. Well done.
ChatGPT couldn't come up with this scenario.
The CVSS score, but it's the BHIS dank score. Like, what's the dank rating?
I gotta say, this is at least 8.2 danks because, like, okay, they compromised the U.S. Department of Energy sector of nuclear energy, which is fun, and includes basic. It's like HR data, so SSNs, physical addresses, bank accounts. I will say I'm surprised they didn't steal all the funds like from the direct deposit so that they could build more furry suits because those things are not cheap.
They are.
No, they're not. Not
I'm looking at one right now on Amazon.
Not that I would know.
Ralph. I swear to God, that is not Ralph. That is not Ralph.
Oh my God.
Ralph GPT is on a roll.
Okay, someone make the job listing. A job listing at the Idaho National Laboratory tomorrow. Sought furry expert with at least 5 years of defensive experience.
Furry expert.
We don't know these threat actors.
We don't know water. And you're feeling high and mighty. I want you to understand that furry conventions have a much closer male to female ratio than infosec communities. So don't make that in.
It's the first just spill the beans.
Hey,
I will say, I mean, they're willing to bargain though. I know it's not good to bargain with ransomware actors, but they do say if they research creating IRL cat girls, we will take down the post.
Wait. Wait a minute. It depends on what kind of furry. Because are we negotiating with dog furries or cat furries? Because the negotiation tactics
this is all cat.
Are going to be way different.
I will say the article tries. I know, like, I'm sure the person writing this was just like really had that twitch at the edge of their, like, just trying to keep a straight face. But here's the exact sentence: The creation of real cat human female hybrids is frequently posted meme, but it's not the laboratory's specialty. Shocker. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that making IRL cat girls was not the Idaho National Laboratory's purpose?
Oh my God. Can we expense in a furry suit to learn their ways?
Gosh.
No.
If it's for a pen test, you can.
I will not approve that. I will not approve that.
Deny.
But John, you already approved 2 of them. One's called Red Bear and one's called Blue Bear.
Don't kill anybody.
We're done. All right, everybody. This has gone completely off the rails. Ryan, bring out the hand. Oh, by the way, folks, before the hand comes out, we have a podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you would like to listen to it in podcast format, so you can listen to it while you're working out. I heard that someone.
God rest your soul.
If you're the person that reached out to us and you said, I listened to you guys while I'm working out, I want to apologize profusely. I am so very sorry, because we might kill them on a treadmill sometime. And once again, furries, don't take any of this offensive. Nothing but respect for you and your kind. Please. I hope you have a good time. Do your own thing.
And I hope you get your cat girls. Good luck.
Hopefully you get what you want sometimes. Just hope you get what you want. We provide training at Antisyphon. We do pen test and incident response at BHIS. If you're interested, check it out. So with that, let's take us out of here. Let's go. Bring up the hand.